Good Tuesday, October 20th morning. It is starting to feel more and more like fall every morning. And we continue to gather, no matter what the season, here together to receive God's good stuff for us today. And I told you yesterday that I am continuing to be in 1 Timothy 6:17 through 19, the scripture I preached on Sunday, because there is so much to talk about, and a 15-minute sermon cannot address all that I wanted to talk about. So this week we are daily going to be in 1 Timothy 6:17 through 19, and today we are in the Message translation of the Bible. Hear these words. Tell those rich in this world's wealth to quit being so full of themselves and so obsessed with money, which is here today and gone tomorrow. Tell them to go after God, who piles on all the riches we could ever imagine, to do good, to be rich in helping others, to be extravagantly generous. If they do that, they'll build a treasury that will last, gaining life that is truly life. So, wow. Just wow. Eugene Peterson, who translated the Message translation of the Bible, has a way with really kind of stepping on toes with his translation and the words he chooses. And but I imagine that this translation is how Paul's congregation, or really Paul's Timothy, his young disciple who is leading the church in Ephesus, this is how I imagine he would have probably heard Paul. His translation makes me think a lot about Jesus's words in Matthew 16 and Mark 8. What will it profit to gain the whole world and yet to lose your life? Indeed, what can you give in return for your life? Jesus spoke these words after he told people that to be his followers, you have to deny yourselves, to take up your cross. You have to give up your life to gain true life in Jesus Christ. So giving then isn't about losing. It has everything to do, in the context of Jesus, with gaining. Gaining a life that is at the end of our days, when we stand at those pearly gates, is worthy to be lived, where we are welcomed with the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Now I'm in Jesus's parable in Matthew 25. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You were given much and you gave much." Such is a life well lived. Such is a life we all strive for, right? A life defined by generosity. I hope I will be remembered that way anyways at the end of my life. Anyhow, getting back to our scripture text, when you give, you can look at your giving through a perspective of either loss, a perspective of scarcity, or you can look at your generous giving life through the perspective of gaining, of abundance. That you have been blessed to be a blessing, as they say, that you really believe those words in James 1:17, that every good gift is from God. And just as God shares with us, we share what we have been given by God with everyone without condition, as God does with us. What we gain is not only that helper's high that I talked about yesterday, but we gain life in God's kingdom in the here and now. We don't have to wait to get to heaven to enjoy life in the kingdom. We are participants in God's transformative work in the here and now when we become truly givers. We get to be God's physical hands in this world that give to everyone. When we are faced with whether or not to give, maybe we can start practicing counting our blessings, what we've been given to give. Counting the gains that both us and the receiver get when we give, instead of going automatically to counting our losses when we give, counting what we lose, what we give up, what we are denying ourselves in order to be able to give to others. Like I said on Sunday, part of this whole following Jesus life is learning to adjust our perspective. Paul says God has given more than enough of everything to go around. We live in a world of abundance, but only when we embrace a life of generosity, when we are truly ready to share at any moment, even when that means giving up a luxury 2 or 3 or 4 to help meet the needs of a friend or a neighbor, a stranger, and even Jesus says, an enemy. Try this week to practice having eyes that see God's abundance in your life. Try not to focus on the scarcity. There is truly a lot to gain in life, in the here and now, through having such a perspective. I will see you tomorrow as we continue to be in 1 Timothy 6:17 through 19. Have a good Tuesday.